Welcome to How Now, the podcast where we talk about how to live in the now. And here's your host, Kim Martin Raymond.
And blessings, and welcome to this edition of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. I am your host, Kim Martin Raymond. I am a minister, spiritual life coach, health and nutrition awareness coach, author, and founder of Redefining You LLC, where I help my clients to realign themselves mind, body, and spirit. And welcome again to season 3 of the How Now podcast. If this is your first time listening in, welcome to the How Now family. And please be sure to go to my website, www.hownowpodcast.com. Pick your favorite podcast platform and be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and share. And you can scroll down to the bottom of the page and it will take you to this week's banner for this week's show. And it will take you to the How Now YouTube channel, where you can like, follow, subscribe, and share there as well. And make sure that you hit that notification bell so that you know when things are happening in the now. And again, that's www.hownowpodcast.com. So let's get into tonight's show, which is entitled Journey Back to Joy and Bliss. Okay, and we know that we were all born, we came through our mother's womb, we entered into this world of uncertainty. We experienced some form of joy and bliss along the way. Some of us may not have experienced it fully yet, even in our adult lives, and some of us are still seeking to find it. So it's a journey back, because it's something, I believe, that starts within. And to help me talk about this tonight is my beautiful guest. And as is customary with the How Now podcast, I'm going to have her to introduce herself at this time. Yeah.
Peace, peace, peace. My name is Tiya Caniel. Caniel is not my last name. It's actually my middle name. I am currently located in Harmony, North Carolina, on ancestral land, and also land that was once taken care of by the Catawba and Tutela tribes of indigenous people. I am a creative. I am a yogi and yoga instructor. My passion is to share practices with people, specifically Black people. Well, not just Black people, but mostly Black people, that help us get back to our natural state of being, which is joy, bliss, enlightenment, liberation. And so the things that I do are informed by that particular passion and purpose. I've been a yoga instructor for, it's about to be 7 years now.
Okay.
I have been a creative my whole life. That entails drawing, painting, upcycling things like old train cases and hat boxes and things like that. I love dressing. I love styling. The way that I approach dressing is very much a spiritual practice. I also make jewelry. What else? I do a lot of different things creatively.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You have such a wonderfully soothing voice. I'm just sitting there like, yes, I just love that. I love that about you. And, I'm so glad you're here to talk about this topic. I've had an opportunity to have a yoga session or two with you. And so I'm excited that you're here and, just to talk about that journey back to bliss. I think it's wonderful, like you said, that you live on ancestral land. And that's something that is beautiful, because not many people, get to experience that, or to have that be a part of their existence, to be able to be on land, ancestral land. And so I'm sure that it's powerful. I'm sure that the energy there must be out of this world. It must be out of this world. All right. What we'll do is we'll start with, talking about some things that were going on, with your practice and things like that prior to the pandemic, because that seems to be where we had to make a hard stop. And a lot of people have had to make some pivots and some changes and have had to, try to find their way back to some type of joy and bliss in the midst of everything that was going on. So what was happening prior, in your, it could be in your personal experience or with your yoga classes and things like that.
So right before 2020, uh, that was fall 2019. My divorce was finalized that September. That was the official ending of a 20-year long partnership. And so I had been with my ex-husband for my entire adult life.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was doing a lot of hustling and grinding, like teaching 20 plus classes, 20 plus yoga classes a week, to try to make ends meet, barely making
Mm.
ends meet, honestly. I was always exhausted mentally, emotionally, physically. Um, Definitely not in a real physical practice at
Mhm.
that point anymore, just because I just didn't have the bandwidth, honestly, to be engaged in my own practice in that way. And I was also coming out of um, a bit of a depression, because of the transition of like divorce and the devastation of like um, realizing that you have to revision your whole life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it was a lot. And then on top of that, at that time, the person that I used to be married to wasn't the kindest person to me. Um, and so it led to a number of things. So I was already feeling like, yeah, I want a softer life for myself. I don't want to be in this hustle and grind. How do I begin to transition to more virtual classes? Because I was teaching that many in-person classes, like
Wow.
20 plus
Wow.
in-person classes and yoga sessions in a week, and not getting paid what I felt I was worth. And so um, I think I needed a new engine for my car.
Mhm.
And I had to like hustle, hustle, hustle at the end of the year to like get that done. Um, and figure that out. And then I made a decision that I was really going to work hard to establish my financial independence
Yeah.
from my ex-husband. And so going into 2020, and I don't know if you know this about me, Kim, but
Mhm.
I started an OnlyFans account. And so, for people who are not familiar with OnlyFans, it's a platform where you can have a subscription based service or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people use it for porn, a lot of people use it for like fitness classes and cooking classes and stuff like that. Essentially, I was using it for porn, mostly like solo things and like nude yoga or like showing videos or pictures of myself just
Mhm.
doing everyday things naked. And
Mhm.
the reason I did that was because it was a safe container for me,
Mhm.
a way for me to explore my own pleasure and sexuality,
Mhm.
and have complete control over the content that I
Yeah.
released. And it was a very easy way for me to make money. Um, and so I did that.
Mhm.
And then right after starting that, the pandemic hit.
Wow.
And I was suddenly, forced to shift to or pivot to just teaching virtually, which was okay for me because I had wanted to do that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I was grateful that I had been planning it and I already had like the equipment. I had my
Gotcha.
mic, I had like lighting, all of those things. Um, which is interesting. I would like to say this. In so many ways, our present self is preparing our future, like preparing for our future self
Yes.
and like laying that groundwork. Um, which is another interesting thing because a mantra that I had been working with at that time was the groundwork has already been laid.
All right.
And so
Mm-hmm.
when I came into even creating content for OnlyFans and teaching yoga virtually, I was already prepared. I already had been acquiring the things that I needed to make that shift. And so I'm grateful for intuition and like downloads from God, creator, universe, whatever you call it, right? And that also ancestral guidance in that way. And so that shift was actually a really easy one for me. Um, and it allowed me to create a life that was super different from what I
Mm.
had experienced before the pandemic. Before the pandemic, there was a lot of struggle and you gotta like scrap and scrape to try to
Right.
survive. And
Right.
um, I was running all over the place, teaching different places, saying yes to every opportunity, even if it didn't feel in alignment. Um, I was not settled or balanced. Um, yeah, yeah, that, just living a different life, like
Yeah.
moving through the world in a different way,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. I mean, and you make a valid point there because what happened was I think a lot of us were on autopilot prior to the pandemic. You're going through the motions, and I think the pandemic gave us all a hard stop because now you had to stop whether you wanted to or not. We can do things to distract ourselves to keep us from having to deal with the things that are right in front of us,
Right.
and then now all of a sudden it's like, okay, now you got to sit with yourself. Now you can't go anywhere. You want to go, but you can't. You want to go outside, but you can't. You can go outside and maybe walk around, but you can't go anywhere. You're now having to face yourself. And
Hmm.
sometimes that's some people's biggest fear is facing themselves and being honest with themselves and their situation, you know. But it's beautiful that you say, now I have to look at my life. I have to see where I am. I have to put out there that something needs to be done different. You had a goal, like you said, to be independent financially from your ex husband, and you know, and then you even put that mantra out there. The groundwork has already been laid. So I love that the manifestation had to come based on your belief in that. That these are the things that are happening, and now they just have to manifest. So, like you said, you got to the pandemic, and there was that hard stop, and then here comes the pivot. And so,
Right.
talk a little bit about
Um, so let me think. I was still teaching for, let's see, the rec in two studios,
that. Hmm.
but they had their setup where like we were doing it virtually. So, well, actually, let me take that back. Okay, yes, I was. So for two of them, I was showing up, like I was going to the studio and they had their laptop and stuff set up. And
Right.
then I would come in and, cue everything and teach my classes for them that way. And the same with the rec. And then
Hmm.
there was another studio where um, we were able to teach from our house, the yoga instructor. So I taught from my house for that, which I had already been set up to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I already had the tapestry on the wall, the space had already been made and everything. So it was perfect. The pivot for me felt very much aligned
Mm-hmm.
with um, the ease that I wanted to feel in terms of um, earning a living. Um, so it was really smooth, and I loved not having to um, spend a lot of money on gas and travel from gig to gig. And
Right.
then also had a corporate client who I still have. Um, and we've been virtual ever since.
Right.
Even after things open back up, I've just been virtual with them the whole time, which has been lovely. So now, like, and it's easier, I think, for them because now their employees in their different locations can just log in with
Right.
me, or if they can't do it live, then I always like email the link for the recording so they have access to that. Um, yeah, like I very happily
Mm-hmm.
um, transitioned into teaching virtually. I was teaching kids yoga virtually. Um, I sit on the board of an organization called the Sanctuary in the City. We put together regular weekly programming. And so I also taught through for that. Like it was just so easy for me. And I know that that pivot wasn't easy for everybody.
Yeah.
Um, and I acknowledge that um, for me, it was exactly what I needed. It helped me slow down. It helped me be more intentional about like creating a beautiful living space.
Yes.
Like, because I live with my mom, but I have like my own section of the house, I guess. So I
Mm-hmm.
have my bedroom. Um, and so like just like, oh, I'm gonna order this headboard, or I'm gonna order this comforter and this duvet cover and
Right.
blah blah blah. And so I made my space, my bedroom very comfortable.
Right.
Um, what other shifts that I make? I mean, it definitely became more intentional about um, maintaining and cultivating community.
Yes.
So I had actually started, I called it church, and I spelled it CHRCH. And it was basically like a virtual gathering, I think on Sunday evenings, if I
Mm-hmm.
remember correctly. And I just invited people to come um, and join me on Zoom. And like people who follow me on Instagram came. Um, and some of them like I'm still in contact with now.
Yeah.
People that I already knew in real life, we became even more connected, like more deeply connected through church. And we just talked and laughed and like, vented about things.
Yeah.
And it was really beautiful. And so I think that for me, um, the pivot was in approaching everything with more intention and being
Yeah.
more deliberate
Yeah.
um, in how I wanted to be in my practices and how I wanted to do my work.
Right, right. Well, I think that's beautiful. And it seems like it starts with safe spaces and
Mhm.
spaces where you can make them your own. Like you said, there has to be some level of comfort. And so, in talking about that and talking about safe spaces and talking about how to create that sense of peace, or that sense of making that positive transition. Right? We talk about bliss. We talk about joy. Okay. And so when we talk about those things, like you said, you have to have a space in which to do that, because if the space that you're in is chaotic, or it feels strained, it's very hard to get to that space of feeling safe enough to experience that joy and that bliss. So let's talk about that joy and bliss, and kind of what they mean, you know, in reference to our lives. And
Mm,
that's a huge question. That's a lot. It's a lot, but we'll peel back a layer or two.
where, well, I mean, first let's start with space, right? I've worked with people who are like looking for ways to either deepen their connection with their joy and bliss, or like cultivate a connection, right? Create some sort of sustainable practice that helps them stay in connection with their joy. Um, and one of the first things I encourage people to do is to create space. And the importance of creating space, and not just like a physical space, but also like energetic spaces
Mm,
that we need to be in a space where we feel supported. And this is where like I think about this often because I'm always like encouraging people in their physical yoga practice
yeah,
to grab whatever things they need to, so that they feel comfort and support as they're practicing. And
right.
so that could be yoga blocks, that could be a folded blanket that you can place under your knees, that could be a bolster, a cushion, or whatever, right? Um, and so the thing is, when we have these different supports in place, it allows us to like relax.
Yeah.
And so think about that. First, think about it from a physical standpoint. If you're in, a yoga practice and you're seated with your legs crossed, right? And you place blocks underneath your knee. So a block under each knee. So now your knees are supported,
Right.
and you're able to be in that position with more ease and less effort, because you're supported, your body is supported. Maybe there's something behind you, you can lean back. Like, even just being able to lean back
Right.
allows you to like soften and let down your guard and find more comfort. And so, like, energetically, um, we also need that. And one of the things that I had, I guess, I don't know, taught or shared with people is the importance of having like a morning ritual,
Mhm.
um, and be very like the use of the word ritual versus routine is very, very important,
Mm.
right? A routine is something that we do and we don't really think about it. We just go through the motions. A ritual is done with a lot more awareness and like uh presence. You feel me? Like being very present and in that moment, and paying attention
Right.
to what you're doing. A ritual is way more sacred than a routine.
Yeah.
So a morning ritual, having one, is a way to create energetic space for your bliss and joy. When you are very intentionally like creating physical spaces for
Yeah.
whatever your practices are, that's a way that you're creating a space for your bliss and joy. Um, both of those spaces, both physical and energetic, are ways to support your being. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Those are the supports that you need so that you can relax and actually experience it. Because you can't really experience bliss and joy if you're like closed and like feeling constricted, or not able to flow.
Yeah.
Um, and you can't feel loose like you need to feel if you don't feel supported. So, um, yeah, like, so that's where you start, right? With like creating the physical and energetic space. Um, and if we're talking about embodiment of bliss and joy, there has to be breath work involved in that. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, like I'm doing alternate nasal nostril breathing, which
Right.
is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's very centering and grounding. I highly recommend it. Um, what feels more accessible to people is simply taking deep breaths, though. And so if you take in a deep inhale through your nose and then sigh it out of your mouth, then you are creating space in your body for more bliss, more joy to come in. Um, and so, and of course, we could go deeper and talk about like chakra energy work and all of that stuff, right? But like essentially our practice, like everything that we do is a practice, to be clear. Whether we're conscious of it or not, we're all in a practice of reconnecting with our bliss and joy because it's our natural state of being. So every decision we make is actually a decision that hopefully will bring us closer to our bliss and joy, whether we are conscious of it or not. That's what we're all moving towards. Everything we do is we're looking for the feel good,
Right.
right?
Right.
And on it sounds surface level, but it's not.
Right. You're right.
It's
You're right.
not surface level at all. It's very deep. Innately, we are moving towards joy all the time, whether we realize it or not. Um, we are doing things that will make us money because then if we have money, then we can have access to this resource or that resource, and then we'll be able to feel more joy, right? We'll feel like we can move with more ease. We exercise or we eat a certain way or we do whatever because we're trying to find the feel good in it,
Right.
right? And the feel good is bliss, joy, essentially liberation. Like you, that's what it is. And so I think that the way to um, be more deeply connected with bliss and joy is to have a very deliberate practice
Yeah.
that helps you stay connected with that. Um, yeah. And it's funny because in this currently at this time, I'm having to be even more deliberate in my practice because I'm navigating heartbreak. I just experienced a breakup, um, and it's been feeling very hard. I've been feeling a lot of sadness and grief around it, um, and uh, I have I have been very, very deliberate in connecting with my joy. Like, yes, honoring the sadness, the grief, the very big, intense emotions that come with, these types of transitions, and also like still allowing myself to feel the love that I feel for this person, like, because it doesn't just go away
That's right.
overnight. It's still there. So I'm acknowledging all of that and also saying, okay, like, yes, I'm feeling these things and I'm in my feelings. And also, I know that joy is right here, right? It's like right here. I just have to give me a little piece. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
You pick off a little piece and say, okay, like I'm laughing, it's feeling good. Oh, I'm sad again. Oh, but oh, now I'm connected with my joy again. Like I'm
Yeah.
touching it, right? And so that's looking like resting and taking naps. That's looking like being in community,
Yeah.
um, with people, with loved ones, people who care for me. That's eating really delicious foods. Um, that's being in the sun. That means going to my art studio and just sitting. And maybe I don't do shit in there. Like
Right. Right.
There have been days where I just be in there and
Mm-hmm.
like one of my colleagues will, stop by like, what you doing? What you working on? Nothing.
That's it.
I'm just in here sitting, I'm looking around. I might take a nap in my little cozy corner.
Right.
I might walk around and talk to the other artists in there. And I may doodle a little bit or just sit in there and watch, Living Single reruns or
Mm-hmm.
Law and Order SVU, like whatever. And I'm snacking and I'm like, just
But
organizing
it's
or
in a
whatever.
space that you've created.
It's in a space that I've created. And
Yes.
and so that takes you back to the importance of creating space.
Yes, yes. I love it. I love it. Because what you're saying is so, I mean, I hope that people are getting all of these wonderful nuggets because when we talk about that journey to joy and bliss, it's a journey. It's not a sprint. It's not a destination. It's a journey.
Word.
It's something that you're going to go through. It's going to ebb and flow, is what I'm hearing when I'm listening to you speak about that. It's something that ebbs and flows. It's not that you're always going to be in that constant state of joy or that constant state of bliss, but you know where it is. And like you said, you can go over there and grab a little piece of it if you need it, as you're going through. And the importance of being able to experience your emotions because in that freedom, you can get back to that joy and bliss. Because if you don't do that, it consumes you. And then you're stuck in that vacuum of feeling of being in your feelings and not knowing how to get out of them.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to say, okay, yes, I'm feeling sad. Okay, and now I'm feeling happy. And no, I'm no longer with that person, but I can express the love that I felt for them, but then I can also express the sadness that I felt because of the situation and how it is. But it's being able to have the freedom to feel those emotions and to let them flow through you so that you can get to that other side to where that bliss and that joy is. So I think
Yes.
it's so important that you mention that. And I love your transparency in speaking about this because it's not something that's finite. You that joy and that bliss comes, it ebbs and flows because of life and the
Yes.
environment that we're in and the people who we interact with, you know. So there's always going to be that journey to get there, but like you said, having that space to be able to go, that space that is not chaotic. I always ask people, what is your place of solace? Where is some place that you can go to free your mind and to think and to breathe and to meditate, where there are not all of these distractions and things that are constantly going on around you, where you can just, like you said, take that deep breath and go, okay, this is my sanctuary, this is my space where I can go back when I need to go back. So I love that you speak to that. It's important that we understand it's not something that we're gonna just finally get there and say, okay, well, I'm here enjoying bliss. I'm just gonna sit here and be here forever.
You're not. You're not. Because I mean, we have our life experiences and then we have like the inner narratives, the stories that we attach to those experiences. And so, the practice of yoga teaches us that in so many ways we create and perpetuate our own suffering. Yes. Um the the great thing is that when you have a sustainable practice in place though, it gives you the tools that you need that you can use to connect with your joy. And even if you don't like feel fully connected, there you can feel better. You can feel closer to it. Because there are times when I'm like, I'm not feeling joy. I'm doing the work and I'm just not feeling it in this moment. But I do feel better than I did. Right. I do feel closer to my feel good, which is really important to acknowledge, right? Um, it reminds me of this quote from the Bhagavad Gita, which is, if you aren't familiar with the Bhagavad Gita, it's like ancient yogic text
Mhm.
where this man essentially finds himself in this epic conversation with God. Um,
Mhm.
and God is like outlining the practice of yoga and all of this stuff. And so one of the things one of my favorite quotes from that book is, um, "No effort is ever wasted. No gain can be reversed.
Mm.
Even a little bit of this practice can rescue you from great sorrow. So it's like whatever effort you're putting forth, it's all good work, right? The work that you're doing is good work, and there's nothing, like, it's not wasted. It may feel like it sometimes, but it's not. It's all like building, right? And getting
Right.
you closer. And then whatever gains you make, they can't be reversed. We'll feel like we're moving backwards, but we aren't.
Right.
Right. And so and just a bit of this practice can like save you from great sorrow. It's like, okay, like I find a lot of solace, like I find a lot of comfort in that particular quote. And yeah, I think that it is important for us to think about bliss
Mm.
as not a destination. I think that, like you said, it's important to see it as a journey. It's a practice,
Yeah.
um, and it is accessible to us just as deeply as we feel, you know, pain, uh, sadness, grief, anger, like anxiety. We feel those things so deeply. That means that on the flip side, we can feel bliss, joy, peace, comfort, love just as deeply, right? Um, and so I think that that's an important sentiment to keep at the forefront of our minds. Like, and I'm reminded of this by my therapist. Um, and by a couple of my friends where I'm like, today was a really hard day for me. I was feeling very sad. I woke up this morning, I was sobbing. I wanted to shave my head, you know, saying, saying all this stuff, like expressing my sadness, which isn't perpetual, like it's not consistent.
Right.
Um, but still like expressing that, and my friends thankfully are friends who can articulate how thankful they are that I can feel so deeply in the first place. And reminding me that that means that I can also feel the pleasant things just as deeply, right? Um, so yeah, so many uh
Mhm.
so many things, right? So many
Right.
layers and like,
Right. Right.
yeah.
But like you said, it's just beautiful because in being able to tap into your emotions deeply like that, it there's expression in that. There's self-expression in that. What do I do with this feeling? What do I, how does it manifest itself? And is it manifesting itself in a healthy way? You mentioned therapists because sometimes some of us may need that because we may acknowledge it, but we don't know how to address it, or we don't know how to you know be in that, figure out how to get on the other side of that. We know there's another side, but we're not certain how to get there because we don't know everything. But it's being able, I think acknowledgement is a huge part of being able to get to a space of healing, because once you acknowledge it, then you can start to say, okay, you can decide whether it's something that you can handle on your own or something that you need help with, you
Mhm.
know because that's the thing that sometimes we don't want to do. Sometimes we don't like to ask for help. We're like, no, I can do this myself. I'm independent. I can do it. And we can't do everything. Just like we can't be everything to everybody. Sometimes we can't be everything to ourselves. We need that assistance. We need somebody to walk with us. We need to be able to acknowledge that, no, I'm in a space that I'm not comfortable being in. I don't want to be here, and I need help getting out of there.
Mhm.
And so, those kinds of things are important. But I also like that, in creating our space, we're also, giving ourselves room to to express ourselves in different ways, whether it be through art, like you said, or whether it be through dressing, or whether it be through, painting, anything, yoga, anything. It's finding that thing that makes you happy, or it's or like you said, that brings you joy. Some people like to journal write. Some people like to paint. Some people like to just. Some people like to just sleep. What do you do? I sleep good. Okay, there is beauty in that. If that's what you do, your body needs it. Your body is
Yeah.
telling you what it needs in order to create that balance for us, or to create that harmony. I said balance, but that's a word that I use rarely. I like that word, harmony. How do I harmonize? How do I create this consistency in different areas of my life? You know, that creates that harmony, that beautiful music that I hear inside. How do I create that? So
Yeah.
those things are important. So, it's just a matter of getting to that space, getting to that um, you know, getting on that path, put it that way. Because it's the path that we have to get on. Some of us have lost our way, and we're just like, okay, I need to be somewhere. I need to he said, create that space. So I guess that's the biggest thing, creating that space first, and then learning how to navigate in that space and to enjoy it and to go to it when you need to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's wonderful. I have had the pleasure of following you on Instagram and things like that, and seeing the beautiful spaces that you've created for yourself. And it's inspiring. It is inspiring. I have this space that I'm in that I feel comfortable in. I love my little young lady back here. That's my girl back there.
Yes.
I have some things over here that I've created. And so it's really about going within, because that's where it starts. That's where it is. It's not something, unfortunately, joy and bliss is not something that we can go to the store and buy. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to have that. Is it on sale this week? Is it Black Friday? Can I go and get that? But it's not anything that we can go get. It's something that we really have to reach within to find. So for people who are having a little bit of difficulty in that, what would you say to them? What's a good way, or what's something that they can do to start tapping
Hmm.
in?
Um, the first thought that came to mind is journaling. And I know there are people that's out here that be like, I don't like to journal, this, that, and the third. And I understand that. Um, I guess what I'm talking about um really is more so like allow yourself to sit and like write down, like be in a how I'm looking for the words. So there's a woman, her name is Julia Cameron. She's amazing for decades now. She has been reading artists, writers, and creatives for filth. Okay. She wrote the book, The Artist Way, and she has a method um, that she teaches essentially
Uh-huh.
that helps creatives stay like in connection with their creativity. And
Mhm.
I'm a person who believes that when people are connected with their creativity, they naturally feel more joyful. And so one of the things she talks about, one of the tools is morning pages, where
Mhm.
you wake up in the morning and you just write 3 pages of continuous stream of consciousness. So essentially you're writing whatever comes to mind. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. Your sentences ain't got to be complete. It doesn't even have to be legible because it's not something that you're going to go back and read. It's really like a mind dump.
Yes.
And this also speaks to creating space.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the things that you're thinking when you first wake up, dreams, your to-do list,
Right.
your self-talk, whether it's negative or positive, like whatever is coming to mind, you write that down. And if you can't think of anything, like nothing is coming, she's like, just write over and over. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. I don't
Right.
know what to write
Right.
until something else comes. And you do that, like you just write 3 pages nonstop. Um, and so that's one tool. I would also say like lean into creativity, and you don't have to be able to draw or like craft or anything. It could be as simple as coloring books.
Yes. Yes. You go back. You go back. I believe in that. I am
Like
a firm believer in that.
reconnect with your inner child, yo. Like, and so um find find ways or make space where you can really play. And I'm saying this like it's a very simple thing, but it's not. It's something that you have to be very deliberate in terms of like setting that up for yourself. But there are things that we all enjoy doing, um a lot of times in solitude,
Yeah.
um that I don't know, because we judge ourselves for a lot of the things that we find amusing for some reason. But like that could be coloring, that could be reading trashy romance novels, that
Yeah.
could be like what we know, things that bring us joy. That's the
Yes.
part.
Yes.
We'll tell ourselves this story about how inaccessible joy is. It's so, oh, I just can't. And it's like, yes, you can. You
That's
know
right.
what, you know what the fuck make you feel good.
That's right.
Like,
That's right.
and so give yourself space to do those things.
Yes.
What
Yes.
we be making shit real difficult, and it ain't
Yes, we
gotta be
do.
that.
It doesn't. It
Because
doesn't.
we'll judge ourselves for these things that bring us joy, but it's like,
Right. Right.
do it. If it's
Right.
5 minutes, like I don't know what those things could be, but like whatever it is,
Yeah.
like that's how accessible joy really is to us. And again, it's not about, oh, I'm gonna be in this continuous, constant, joyful state.
Right.
That is not realistic.
Realistic.
It just isn't.
Yeah.
The thing is though, you know the things that bring you
Yeah.
joy.
Bring you joy. Yes. And I love that you say that childlike part because it is that there are things that we can think about in our childhood that brought us joy as kids. If it's jumping rope, you go get a jump rope, and you can't even jump that high anymore. And
Hula
then,
hooping.
right, you start laughing about things like that. I was down for a month. Like I said, I had a surgery and was
Mm,
down for a month. How about I went to Hobby Lobby and got a latch hook rug and made a latch hook rug for my grandbaby. But I sat there and took the little latch hook because that was something I used to love to do. I used to love to
yes.
make little rugs and little cribs, things like that. And I went to the store and I bought one. Now I was like, what in the world? I'm 52 years old. I'm sitting there buying a latch hook rug. It doesn't
It
matter.
doesn't matter.
And I bought it, and it brought me joy because when I didn't have anything, or I was sitting there and I didn't feel like reading, or I didn't feel like being an adult, I felt like being a kid. I pulled that
Yes.
out and I did it, and it was wonderful. It was
Or even
wonderful.
like, you know how you can go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's or somewhere and they have like those science kits for
Yes.
kids
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
where you can like experiment and just
Yes.
like do shit, like stuff
Yes.
like that. Like, why not? Why
Right.
are we holding ourselves to this very like stiff and restrictive idea of what it means to be an adult? Like that it's so stupid to me. Like it's really stupid. And so yeah, like there are so many. One of the things that I like to tell people is, okay, bet you don't think you can connect with your joy, skip. Can
Right.
you skip with a straight face? If
Right.
skipping is accessible to you and it's something that you can do with your body, you're telling me that
Right.
you can't skip for a few seconds and and not feel any kind of joy, like
Right,
not laugh
right,
at all,
right. Just the thought of it makes me
who's
laugh.
yeah, like who's gonna be skipping around with a straight face?
Right. No.
So it's like, again, I think that part of it is that we have to shift our ideas around
Yeah.
joy and how accessible it is to us. Stop telling ourselves that it's not accessible, because it is. Like, yes, you're feeling anxious and you're feeling sad and you're feeling all of those things, and also joy is very accessible to you.
Yeah.
Even in the most minute, smallest doses,
Yeah.
it's still accessible to you. And
Right.
you have to be in a very deliberate practice, consistent practice of connecting with your joy, and staying connected with it in order to grow and, prolong those moments of joyfulness. So I would say shift your idea around um the accessibility of joy first and foremost. Recognize it as a thing. It's your true nature, so it's innate to you.
That's right. That's right. And like
It
you
is.
said, develop those rituals over routines. And that way
Yes.
they become more meaningful. Like you said, you're more aware, you're more present. And so,
Yeah.
those are wonderful ways to start on that journey. And
Yeah. Like
yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what I'm doing right now. Things that I'm doing right now to um be in connection with joy. Like, specifically, I know I named some general things before. Specifically, what I'm doing right now is I am creating art for the sake of creating it. I'm not striving for any kind of perfection. Um, I I don't even like to call my things guilty pleasures. A pleasure that I have had since I was a kid. Pillsbury dough, a stick of Pillsbury dough, chocolate
Uh-huh.
chip cookies,
Uh-huh.
cookie dough.
Uh-huh.
That is my shit. I love those cookies. They are so good. I know they probably so bad. Like, it's so much that's in it that's probably so bad for me. But right now,
Yeah.
those cookies, I always add walnuts or pecans to mine.
Mm.
They have been giving me so much joy. Like, really, like, for real, for real.
Right.
Um, what else? What else is giving me joy? Specifically, I had a little, like, I don't even know what to call it. Basically, I went to my friend's house last week one day. This was after I was like, I'm gonna shave my head. I woke up sobbing and I'm gonna shave all my hair off. And to be clear, this is the longest my hair has been in years. I've been letting it grow.
Right. Right.
Um, this year will make 2 years that I've been letting my hair grow, but I was like, I'm about to shave it all off. Um, but I went to one of my friend's house, and our mutual friend came over. She has this moisturizer that she makes and sells. It's really great for the skin, but it's also great for your hair.
Oh,
She
okay.
gave us hot oil treatments, yo.
Oh, nice.
And so we were in our friend's bedroom, like, sitting under the dryer, letting the steam do its thing and stuff. And then she was like, okay, it's your turn to get a shampoo, Tia, blah, blah, blah. And we were just talking, drinking tea, laughing. It was like first thing in the morning, basically. And so that felt really good. That helped
Yeah.
me connect with my joy.
Yeah.
Teaching yoga has been helping me connect with my joy,
Yeah.
honestly. Showing up and teaching my in-person classes has been great. Um, and daydreaming about the possibilities
Oh, yeah.
right now
Yeah.
is doing it for me. Like, oh, like, I'm untethered, right? Because I'm not in connection, like a romantic connection or partnership at this
Right.
time. So now I'm untethered and I can, like, legit be anywhere. And so,
All right.
just like daydreaming and even getting on the internet and looking up artist residencies in different places, and like, ooh, what if I go on this road trip? Can I take my cat with me? Let me look at Airbnbs and, like,
Yeah.
things like that. Like, so yeah, like joy is also always accessible to us.
Yes,
You
I love
know, we have to be very deliberate about connecting with it though.
it.
And like I said, shift our ideas around um how accessible joy is and what it has to look like. Because I think people be caught up in, well, it should look like this. It's like,
Right, right,
like
right,
how do you feel in your body and your spirit when you are in
right,
a joyful state? Like that's what you want to embody. Like
right.
who cares what it looks like and what brings it to you if you're not, as long as you're not harming people
That's
or
right.
yourself.
That's right.
Don't do that.
That's right.
But otherwise, like, have at it, yo, whatever. Like, release that judgment, whatever it is, like, do that shit.
That's right. I love that. I love that. I know. I mean, honey, like I said, we can sit here and talk about this all day. We like,
Yes,
oh, yeah. I absolutely love that because that's what it is a journey, and it
yes.
is, and it can be so beautiful, when we just step out there, like you said, and just have at it.
Hmm.
Have at it.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, usually I ask my guests, what's happening in there now. You just told us, those things that are bringing you joy. It's those little things. You know what I'm saying? It can be
Yeah.
something as simple as, like you said, just pulling out. Yeah, I have a little thing for bubbles. So every now and then, just want to just like, let me just blow some bubbles in here. So you get the
Yes.
bubbles later, I'm like, oh
Oh, I need to get me some bubbles,
yeah.
especially
Sometimes,
to have in
just
my
bubbles and you sitting there
studio.
trying to pop them and do all kinds of just like bubbles. Every now and then, just like, I need to
I
blow some
love
bubbles.
that.
And then your breath work, you're blowing.
Yep.
So it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I
Yep.
was like, okay, I need some bubbles. Okay, my grandbaby is 5, but she had that big old tube of bubbles. Yeah, $1. Okay, you go to the
Yeah.
dollar store and get you a whole thing of bubbles and just make bubbles. And it's like, okay, I just need to blow some bubbles. I need to blow out some things. So there it goes. And whatever was in that bubble, okay, this is the person's gonna blow it and then pop. Now it's gone. So I mean,
Yes, I love that.
it's little things like that we do that can bring us joy. And so, like I said, it's wonderful when we can, like you said, get on that path and find our way to that joy and to that bliss. So, like I said, before we wrap things up, please tell people how they can get in contact with you, so that if they're in the North Carolina area or if they want to, take some classes with you virtually, how can they get in contact with you?
So my website is tiyacanil.com. That's TIYACANIEL.com. My Instagram is Tiya Caniel. Um, yeah.
All right.
Yes.
So,
And definitely if you go to my website, subscribe to my newsletter. I'm spending less time on social media. I've been more invested in like creating a more intimate community. And so I'm encouraging people to subscribe to my newsletter. I
awesome.
don't send out spam, I promise.
Mm-hmm.
I send out a monthly love letter,
Oh, yeah.
and I talk about like whatever is going on with me, basically.
Awesome.
And then I like to send out a second newsletter during the month that's just like, hey, here's some of the art that I've been creating. Here's what I've
Yeah.
been working on.
Yeah.
And so I really want to make it a point to share. I don't know. I'm being more private with the things that I share, I guess. And that's just where I'm at right now. So yeah, definitely go to my website, subscribe to my newsletter.
Awesome.
The box will pop up when you come onto my website.
Yeah.
Um, and that's probably the best way to keep in touch. And of course, from my website, you'll be able to like see what I have to offer. Um, if you subscribe to my newsletter, I'm keeping you up to date on other offerings that I'm doing. Um, so yeah.
All right. So you heard that www.tiacanil.com, and that of course it will be in the description when the show airs. That way it can keep up with you. But darling, it has been such a pleasure having you here to talk about joy and bliss. It has given me joy to see your smiling face again. It's been a little while since we had a chance to see each other, so it's really good to reconnect and to talk about this topic and, like you said, to peel back some of those layers and to help people start to get on that path to joy and to bliss. So as I tell all of my guests, you are always welcome to come back to the How Now podcast. I never have someone just come on one time only. It's like always come back and let us know what's going on with you, because what's happening now may not be what's happening 2 hours, 2 minutes, 2 days from now. And we want to always make sure that we stay connected. So you are part of the How Now family, and I am so happy to have you. And you know that you're welcome back anytime. Do you have any final words for our listeners before you go?
Well, first, thank you, Kim, for having me. It's been so great to share space with you. For everyone, I would say that I'm gonna leave you with my favorite mantra. This is a mantra that I use every single day. Okay.
Mhm.
Everything always works out in my favor.
Everything always works out in your favor.
That is my go-to mantra. Everything always works out in my favor.
Yes, all right. Make sure you write that down. Everything always works in my favor. Okay. All right, my darling. Again, thank you so much for being with me. Thank you so much for sharing this space. And like I said, we'll see each other again soon, sooner rather than later, right? Yeah,
Yes,
you talk about them
definitely.
cookies, and I'm like, I'm a cookie monster, so I was like, I'm gonna have to come by. But maybe come by. I like vegan, so yeah, we might have to go in there. May have to make some cookies together. We'll work on that.
Word.
All right, y'all, and that will do it for this edition of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. And until we see you the next time, I say peace.
Peace.